The reason you're struggling to get stops right now in college football 27 is because you're calling random plays, or worse, you don't have a complete defensive scheme that's capable of locking down every offense you face. Luckily for you, I'm going to change that in this video with my easy to learn 5-play 4-2-5 man pressure defensive ebook. You're not going to want to miss out on any of the blitzes or coverages I'm breaking down today, or it could be the reason your defense is still trash. Let's jump right into it. The first thing any great defense has is a glitch blitz to get the quarterback on the ground in a hurry. Let me show you the best one from this 4-2-5 man pressure playbook. Alright, so the first blitz we're going to be breaking down here is going to be from nickel 3-3 Cub, and the staple of this defense is Mike Blitz 0. So there's going to be a great macro for you that's found in my defensive ebook, which is very easy to set up and run. Now, there's multiple different macros, multiple different ways to run this same defense, but change up the looks. But perhaps the simplest and the easiest way that I'll break down here for you guys is to simply press your right stick to the left, and then your left stick to the left, to shift your D-line left, and then you're going to drop your outside linebacker here into a curl flat. So now it's going to look something like this, and then I would press RB and then right stick up to pass commit, because essentially you're trying to overload one side of the offensive line and then D-pad switch stick onto your edge rusher right here to be able to get sacks. I've talked about this before, and I think it's very effective from this formation and others here in this playbook. But we go ahead and take the snap, immediately D-pad switch stick, and now you're able to see how we're going to be able to get our guy to get out there and, sack the quarterback while being back over the middle of the field, with our user defender, or even like right here on the sideline. Like, you see how this wheel route could potentially be getting open, but I'm here to guard that over the top with my user and then also potentially run with it down the field. But essentially, you're just trying to create a 4-on-3 overload advantage, for your offensive line. So also make sure you're standing in the right spot so that your user, when you switch off of him, actually runs into the center and he doesn't run into like the guards, because no blitz is going to work every time. It only doesn't work when your user runs into the guard, and you can fix that by making sure he's in the right spot, like right here, 2 yards over the left shoulder of the center, so you give him the best chance, Woodson, to actually run into the center. So again, shift the D-line left, pass commit, drop your edge rusher into a curl flat, and so now we go ahead and take the snap again, and then you notice how our guy comes in clean, because they have a 3-on-3 over there on the left side, and then my user blitzes, and so we're able to just run in completely free through the A gap. Again, because we shift our D-line. So the biggest thing really here is creating this overload by shifting your defensive line and then getting back over here with your user to be able to take away routes. Now, if they block their running back, that can also change the numbers here, obviously, because instead of it being a 4-on-3 advantage, now it's even. It's going to be 4-on-4. So I'm still going to drop this guy into a curl flat. If you know that they're going to block their running back, I would drop this safety into like a hook, so that now I can press D-pad up instead of pressing D-pad right, so I can actually be over the middle of the field on my safety. Also understand how good man coverage is in this game, so if you want to press your defense as well, you can certainly do that. Really do a good job of getting up here on these receivers. You could press and then shade over the top, or you don't even really have to shade over the top if you don't want to. But same thing, blocked running back, press your D-pad up, and now you're going to see how the running back's going to step up to block your guy, and then you're back over the middle of the field now onto your hook curl to take away routes. So really, you're going to force him to almost block their running back, and right here, the running back actually, cut blocks the guy, so cuts out his legs, and so that makes it, easier or better for them. But the running back's not going to do this every time. A lot of the time, he's just going to get ran right through, push into the quarterback for an easy sack, but you still notice how this is an easy one-on-one. One of our best pass rushers here is able to get a sack while we're here, and I also could have guarded this crosser if I was paying more attention. So really make sure with your user defender, you're guarding what actually is open. And that's the thing about man coverage. Sometimes 2 routes will get open, sometimes no routes will get open. So that's where I say, like, you want to have other coverage shells like zone coverage as well to mix in with this. But really, this is going to be one of the best glitch blitzes for you to get after the quarterback in a hurry here from this 4-2-5 man pressure playbook, because you're just going to create an easy 4-on-3 overload advantage like this, and then also drop your guy out into a zone if they're blocking the running back. But just stand in the right spot and then immediately press your D-pad up or your D-pad right to be able to get onto your guy in coverage. Alright, so having a great blitz like I just showed you is going to help you out tremendously on defense, but if you're not using the best settings, you're also going to have a really tough time. Let me break those down for you. Alright, so when we talk about the best settings, something I need to point out here is there's some new things, some changes to the settings that you need to use specifically for zone drops. So if we come into a play like Z spot right here, and we put our zone, like we're stopping the corner out. That's what we know we're trying to defend. So we put our flats on 25, we call Tampa 2. The problem that gets created with this is we used to think, hey, put your flats on 25 from a cover 2 defense. Now you can stop corner outs very easily. If we look at our play art, you see how our guy's dropping back to 25 yards here. But what happens when they're on the wide side of the field is if they call this route concept, my outside corner, you see how he comes down, and he's going to come down every single time and give up that corner out. Like, he should never actually give that up because he should never come down to guard it, right? We take a look at the replay. This is an out route, right? And we have our guy set to 25, but that's what happens right now in this game is only on the wide side. On the short side, you're going to be fine. But it's like you don't want to risk that, right? You always want to make sure that you can actually guard the corner out. So instead of using 25-yard flats, we're going to use 25-yard curl flats. Now, you can also create a macro for this to be able to already have your outside corner come out in a curl flat instead of being in a flat. But really what we're going to do now is you can put your flats on 5, curl flats on 25, which is really flipping what we used to do. You can still call a Tampa 2 or a cover 2 defense, but instead now you're going to put your outside corner, instead of him being in this cloud flat on the right, I'm going to put him in a curl flat. So press Y or triangle, B or circle, and then flick my left stick to the right. Now he's going to be in a 25-yard curl flat, and he's actually going to be able to defend, this corner out, especially on the wide or short side. I'm also going to put my slot corner here in my 5-yard hard flat, like I had set in my zone drops. And so now we're going to be able to do a great job of slowing this down. So again, we take the snap, 5-yard out route, 5-yard hard flat takes away the out route. But as you're able to see, my 25-yard curl flat on my outside corner does a great job of actually getting back here and guarding that corner out. So we'll go with it again just so we can see the full play here of how he actually gets out there and guards that. So you see same setup on defense, same setup on offense. On the wide side of the field, we take the snap, and you see how he's actually getting back there to guard that. So that's going to be a problem that you guys are going to have, is you're going to think that, your 25-yard zone drop or zone stem is going to guard a corner out, but if they're on the wide side, he's just going to come down every single time and give that up for easy completion. So really, that's the first change that you absolutely need to change in your settings from college football 26 to college football 27 is now using 5 and 25 to stop corners instead of 25 and 5. But next, I want to talk about match coverage, right? And specifically against bunch formation. So quarters check bunch, palms check bunch, cover 6 check bunch. You want to make sure that you're starting on box. The reason why you want to start on box is because, as it says, think of it like each defender owns a quadrant around the bunch. This is going to do a great job of isolating, their bunch. So if we come into, let's just go into cover 4 quarters, for example, right here from, nickel over. And so really what you're going to see is you're going to actually be able to do a good job of stopping like flood concepts and a lot of medic plays. Right, so they just call street corner flat, something like this. You're going to be able to do a great job. You take away the flat, he's sitting on the corner, the backside dig gets guarded, everyone owns a quadrant of the bunch, and so we're going to be able to do a great job. If we change it up, we put a crosser, a shriek. We could even go with something like this. Like, this is a very common bunch combo. Crosser, shriek, return, drag. Take the snap, and you're able to see, so I put my controller down, but Reese would be the one guarding that drag across the field, and so then we would take away the return route, and then we would take away the crosser as well. So like I said, if I put my controller down or was usering, this would be guarded too. So you're able to do a great job of stopping their very common plays. The problem that gets created though is when they're smart, an elite bunch player, they're going to motion over, and then they're going to call something like this, where they're now going to put 4 to a side, and you're going to have a really tough time actually guarding their bunch. So they take the snap now. Look how that's going to be an easy completion 10 times out of 10 every single time against bunch or against box, because of how the coverage plays and the match rules. You're just going to give up checkdowns all game long, especially to that outside bunch receiver underneath. So in order to counter that and change that, you want to make sure you're changing this to be on bingo, all right? So we're going to change our quarter check against bunch to be bingo. You could do the same thing for palms, put bingo on. But really what I would say is understand there are some risks to bingo. Bingo is more aggressive, certainly, than box would be. And so that can leave you susceptible to like some deeper route concepts if they have a match beater. But really what you're going to see now is they can call the same exact route combo and they're going to have their flat, right? They're going to look to their flat to their outside receiver, but this time my outside corner is going to come down and actually break on that. Obviously, you would like for him to knock the ball away, but he comes down immediately because now that's his responsibility. That's how the coverage plays. The outside corner is now going to be responsible for that outside receiver if he goes outside, like he does right here. So again, we take the snap, we try to hike throw this like we could before, and that's going to be an easy breakup or interception time and time again. So really what I'm telling you here is box is really good against bunch formations. They're common plays, but if you're playing against a really high level bunch player who actually is willing to hit underneath passes to that outside bunch receiver, switch to bingo so your outside corner can lock onto him, and you're going to be playing really great match coverage with the best settings. Alright, so if you found this breakdown helpful thus far of the 4-2-5 man pressure defensive ebook, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down college football 27 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better, and you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have because it's going to be every day all year long, even when everyone else hops over to Madden 27 in a few days. So what are you thinking? Go down below, hit that subscribe button today, and if you're serious about transforming your defense here in CFB 27, you're tired of giving up easy points, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to grab my 4-2-5 man pressure defensive ebook, which includes all the best blitzes, coverages, custom adjustments that you're going to need to use here to play great defense from this playbook. I've helped thousands of players get better on defense even in 3 weeks of CFB 27 with this playbook, and it's also helped me go undefeated numerous times in my college football playoff. Grab it today, and let's jump right back into the video. Because the next thing you're going to need to master on defense here in CFB 27 is actually stopping RPOs. The run is already really good, which makes RPOs even better. Let me break those down for you. Alright, so as we know, RPOs are some of the toughest plays to actually defend here in this game. I mean, what we see is, like, all they have to really do is read one defender. They're able to get easy completions. And so, it's like, RPO defense isn't really hard. It's just going to be about setting up the RPO defense, knowing that an RPO is coming, and then setting up the correct defense in order to be able to defend it. If you just run regular zone coverage, or sometimes even man, although man can help you a little bit against RPOs, now you're just going to make it really easy for them to hit those completions. So BLT, how do I stop RPOs? Now obviously many different RPOs are different obviously in this game, but the universal defense that you can use here to slow down RPOs and actually have this macro in my defensive ebook is actually just running like cover 3 buzz from 3-3 cub and simply manning up their receiver. Now I would also recommend you shade underneath to put hard flats on the field like this, and then you press RB or R1 and then right stick up to pass commit, because now you're going to be shaded underneath, you're going to pass commit, you have that guy manned up. And so this is pretty much going to make it pretty easy for you to set up the defense. Boom. He's going to knock that pass away or tackle the guy for a very short gain every time. The key that you have to understand is what formations are likely to call RPOs. Gun bunch tight end, gun trips tight end, gun Y off trips, right? Those are just 3 off the top of my head that are very common to call RPOs. And sometimes it's not just the tripped receiver. Sometimes it might be 33 that's getting the RPO. Or it could be the outside receiver on like a screen. But the rule of thumb here is identify that it's an RPO, then man up the likely passing threat, or if it's more than one man, then both up, shade underneath, and then pass commit. Because now you're going to see how your man coverage defender, because you're pass committed, isn't going to be looking in the backfield to defend the run. He's going to be solely focused on his guy in man coverage. And so now what you're able to see is, once again, whether they put a flat or they leave a bubble in the field, you're going to be able to tackle that guy or break that pass up every single time. Very important for you to first identify it's an RPO because they've gone to it before or they're in a likely RPO formation, and then be able to set up the defense just like that. But it's not just a pass, because obviously if I set up pass defense here and then I like put my controller down or I get quick snap, they can just hand the ball off up the middle, and although we played great pass defense, we didn't defend the run, so it really doesn't matter. So you have to make sure that you're doing both. So again, man up, shade underneath, pass commit, stand 4 yards over the guard on the halfback side, and then loop around like this to be able to meet the ball carrier in the backfield and be able to shut down the run. Understand that the run is good, but the RPO run is going to be worse because some of those linemen are focused on, blocking for the pass aspect. So you're just able to see how, again, standing in the right spot, 4 yards over the guard on the halfback side, loop all the way around, and you see how this guard never sees me. 75, he gets into a double team animation, and then I'm able to loop right through and bring that guy down, while once again, we're able to defend the RPO pass. So there's many different RPOs that you're going to have to defend in this game, but bubbles, flats, screens, those are all very common, and using that specific RPO defense with the macro in the ebook and then stopping the run with your user is going to make them basically ineffective. Alright, before I jump to the final 2 tips from this defensive playbook that you're absolutely not going to want to miss here in CFB 27, I wanted to once again remind you to go down below, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be the only one breaking down CFB 27 tips and tricks here on YouTube every single day, all year long, even when Madden 27 comes out. So this is really going to be the best channel to watch and take information from all year long. So what are you thinking? Go down below, hit that subscribe button today, and let's jump to those final 2 tips. Because next I want to break down the best macro adjustment that you absolutely need to be using and add to your defensive repertoire from this 4-2-5 man pressure playbook. Let me show you what it is. Alright, so this custom adjustment, I believe everyone needs a switch stick custom adjustment. And what I mean by that is a coverage shell that you can very easily switch stick out of. So I'm going to have my guest play on pass in this macro. Then I'm going to scroll down until I find that this is very simple, but you're going to need to set it up so that you don't have to set it up, obviously, at the line of scrimmage. Cornerback depth on 5. Alright, I like to have my safety depth on 12 for this custom adjustment. Then I'm going to keep scrolling, and I'm going to put my curl flats on 5 so that I have at least one zone drop on so that my players hopefully don't match. Alright, and then we are going to keep scrolling until we find, let's see what the next one is. It should be the actual individual adjustments, which are really the most important part of this. You have cornerback 1 and an outside third, cornerback 2 and an outside third, slot cornerback in a curl flat, free safety and an inside third, let's see, strong safety and an inside quarter, left edge rusher and a vert hook, right edge rusher and a hard flat, and then let's see, we're going to blitz our Mike. Alright, and that's going to be pretty much all this one is. So this is going to be specifically from one of the plays I'm about to break down. I believe it's cover 3 buzz to set up an overload blitz. But really, you could do this from a lot of different formations, but that's the macro. Again, this is actually written out for you in my defensive ebook. More on that later, but obviously just rewind the video. You can, put those custom adjustments in, and this is really going to help you switch it really well, like I'm about to show you. Alright, so we're going to, like I said, come into cover 3 buzz, hold the play call button here, which for me it's going to be A, and then you are going to use your macro, which is going to be switch stick right. Alright, and so really understand that this is going to be a shell, a switch stick shell, that you want to use when your slot cornerback is on the right side. I have another shell for switch stick left, because really I want to set up a different cover shell when they flip. Because if they come out on the left side and you call this, your slot corner, the coverage isn't going to play how it should and how it looks right here. But really what you're just going to see is you're just going to blitz your user and then D-pad switch stick. So take the snap, press D-pad up. Now I'm on Bray Hubbard, and now we're able to do a great job of taking away their routes. Again, you want to make sure that you're only calling this when you have your slot corner, or they have their formation, their slot receiver on the right side of the field. But you're just able to see how, boom, we take it, we get a quick shed, and I'm back over the middle now. Because you want to be able to drop this linebacker out while still having free roam. Because here's the thing. if you try to switch onto this safety in the inside third, now this would just be cover 3. Like, let's use a visual here. If I put this guy to a hook, this is just cover 3, and I have that safety in a hook, which is pretty much the same thing that you're going to be doing when you actually end up D-pad switch sticking onto him. So again, if you wanted to, also you could spread your defensive line like this, and then user kind of over here, jump out quickly to a running back, and then D-pad switch stick onto Bray Hubbard to get that delayed pressure. But now you're able to see how, I mean, obviously they're calling the same route concept every time, and it depends on what route concept they're calling as to where you need to be with your user, but you're just able to see you set up the macro. Now you have a shell that gives you a hook curl over the middle. You have a way to defend the flat on this side and on this side, and then you also have a cover 3 shell while, really just changing your user. And so that's why I say you want to get out here and user quickly to a running back or jump out to really make them think that this is your user just like normal, but then you're just going to switch and then onto this guy, and then you're going to be able to come down and take away a quick hitch or take away a quick seam pass. And so it just gives you a lot more versatility when you're switch sticking versus if you try to switch stick from cover 3, right? So if you try to run it like this and then switch it onto Sab, well, now you don't have anyone in the middle of the field, which especially can hurt you if they decide to go to a deep post. So this is going to be a really high level, pro level switch stick shell to be able to run, because you have a cover 3, but then you also have a free man with your inside quarter that you're able to get onto really early in the play and do a great job of taking away their routes, really whatever they could have breaking open. So start using that shell to, really give yourself another, coverage shell on defense to be able to switch stick from, and it's going to make your pass defense that much better. All right, that final tip that I want to break down as it pertains to the 4-2-5 man pressure defense is actually how to stop people on the goal line. If you give up when they drive the ball inside the 1-yard line, you're going to be giving up easy touchdowns, and you obviously don't want to let that happen. Let me show you exactly how to stop quarterback sneaks here in CFB 27. Alright, so they're going to come into quarterback sneak here. Our play is going to be from goal line 5-3. We're going to flip our packages until we get to the speed package, and we are going to, that's really it. We're going to call gaps B as our play call with the speed package on, and what I want you to pay attention to, this ball is literally inside the 1-yard line. So they have a QB sneak meter now in this game. In previous years, it would be the case where you could stop the quarterback sneak every single time, no questions asked. But now in this game, they're going to have a meter. So if they get that basically right in the dead center, they're going to be able to score. So I'm going to try to do it right here. It's not easy, I would say. It's hard to get it in the dead middle, and you're able to see how I do get it in the dead middle, and so we're able to fall into the end zone for a touchdown. So it's they now have the control. But what I want you to pay attention to is the best way to slow down and stop the sneaks is actually making sure you're not in a spread look, because you see how what happens when I spread my defensive line. Now the green window is so much wider, so this is going to be so much easier for them to actually be able to walk in and just fall into the end zone just like that. But when you actually have your D-line pinched and then you walk your user down just like this, now it's going to be a lot harder for them to green. And so like I said, in previous years you could stop it every time. Now you just have to make it really hard for them, and then the ball's pretty much in their court after that. So you're just going to see how, again, the ball's inside the 1. They have a big quarterback, so if they green it right dead center, they're able to fall into the end zone. But right there, they don't. And so that's what I mean when I say make it as hard as possible for them to be able to fall into the end zone for a touchdown by running this package with this play and then standing in the right spot with your user. So again, boom. And then that's kind of a tough. You see how that was in the green, but it wasn't dead center. And so that's what I mean when I say it's not easy to be able to do this when you're on offense, which is why I really don't like calling quarterback sneaks this year anyway, because it's they just make it hard for you, and then you're really not able to do anything unless, again, it's a perfect, kind of meter here. And then also you just want to make sure you're running this defense as well. If they decide to go to something different, they get scared, they don't want to call quarterback sneak, instead they go to dive, you really want to be able to build a wall like we're able to see right there, right at the goal line, and make it as tough as possible, for them to be able to fall into the end zone. So again, goal line 5-3, gaps B, using the speed package, standing as close as possible to the line of scrimmage, without being offsides. And then when they go to quarterback sneak, you're going to make their meter as small as possible. And then if they try to go to a different play, even power O, you're also going to try to make that as difficult as possible for them by building a wall. So like I said, don't give up when they drive the ball inside the 1 or the 2 yard line. Honestly, that's even harder to be able to score than maybe the 7 or the 8, because it's going to be really hard to pass, and they're going to have to resort to running the ball, which we kind of talked about run defense earlier with, the RPO defense. And then you're also going to be able to stop goal line runs like power O, like halfback dive, like quarterback sneak by using this package. Alright, so if you found that breakdown of the 4-2-5 man pressure defensive playbook helpful here in CFB 27, make sure you go down below, hit that subscribe button. I break down CFB 27 tips and tricks just like this every single day to help you guys get better, and we're going to be doing it all year long, so you don't want to miss out on any of the content that I have. But if you're serious about transforming your game here in CFB 27, you finally want to start locking down on defense, go to the link down below in the pinned comment to grab my 4-2-5 man pressure defensive playbook, which includes macros, blitzes, coverages, everything you're going to need to lock down on defense here all year long in CFB 27. It's helped me go undefeated numerous times and helped hundreds of players already here in CFB 27. So what are you thinking? Grab that ebook today at the link down below in the pinned comment. And if you want to see the offense, my new offensive ebook that pairs perfectly with this from the Washington State playbook, check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. Peace.